on Tell Me, Dr. K, we are answering the question, how did the founders of the Jehovah's Witnesses build a multi-billion financial empire from a simple Bible student movement? How did they turn religion into a booming business? This and much more is what we are going to cover. Jehovah's Witnesses claim to be a simple organization. No tithing, no paid clergy, no extravagant fundraising. But behind the scenes, they've built a multi-billion-dollar empire. So how did they do it? And where is all the money going? This is the truth about the world's most secretive religious business. We are revealing the shocking business model of the Jehovah's Witnesses. In the 1870s, a man called Charles Tazo Russo started a Bible student movement. He was not just preaching, he was also printing. He founded the Zion Watchtower Society, a publishing company disguised as a religious movement. But it was his successor, Joseph Rutherford, who transformed the Jehovah's Witnesses into a business empire. Now, here's what Rutherford did. He centralized power and gave the organization a new name, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Because before that, it was just known as a Bible student movement.
Many conventions in the years that followed helped unite God's people in even more powerful ways, like the unforgettable one held in Columbus, Ohio in 1931. Imagine stepping into the Coliseum at the fairgrounds. There are 15,000 in attendance and the place is packed. Your program has 2 large letters printed on the front, JW. For the first 2 days of the convention, everyone's trying to guess what those letters mean. Just watch? Just wait? Finally, Brother Rutherford steps on stage. Near the end of his talk, he presents a resolution that climaxes with the words, "We desire to be known as and called by the name to wit, Jehovah's Witnesses."
He controlled all assets and streamlined operations and turned the movement into a highly structured hierarchical business. From then, everything will be owned and controlled by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Unlike most religious organizations, the Jehovah's Witnesses actually operates like a global corporation. Here is how they maximize control and profits. First, corporate leadership model, the governing body. This is a small elite group that controls all decision-making, and they've called themselves a faithful and discreet slave, appointed direct by Jehovah according to Matthew 24, verse 45. Rutherford introduced what he called theocracy. And by theocracy, what he meant was that he distanced himself further away from other churches, and they called themselves a theocracy, and an organization that is controlled by Jehovah, a representation of Jehovah here on earth, and they call it Jehovah's organization here on earth. It's a theocratic organization, not a democracy. And an elite group of few men control all decisions and make all the policies. They come up with all the doctrines, and the rest of the members of the organization have just got to obey. They call themselves a faithful and discreet slave, appointed to give food to other slaves. Let's watch this clip for you to see what I'm talking about.
Our fine shepherd tells us as our first example these words at Matthew chapter 24, verses 45 through 47. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave whom his master appointed over his domestics to give them their food at the proper time? Happy is that slave if his master on coming finds him doing so. Truly I say to you, he will appoint him over all his belongings. We know the Master Jesus found the faithful and discreet slave spiritually feeding right-hearted ones in 1919, and at a future time will appoint him over all his belongings. So what's the implication? Obviously, even now, Jesus fully trusts the faithful slave. And all of us, even individual members of the governing body, should do the same.
If you have so far driven benefit from this video, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that every time I upload a new video, you will receive a notification. The second thing that they've done is that every congregation is legally owned by the Watchtower headquarters. There are no independent congregations. The Jehovah's Witnesses is registered as a religious organization, which means they don't pay taxes on billions in assets. Many governments grant religious organizations property tax exemptions. Now, this saves the Jehovah's Witnesses millions of dollars. Thirdly, they have a global donation system. Although Jehovah's Witnesses condemn other churches, their system is actually even more brutal than the same churches and denominations that they condemn. Here is a clip to show what I've just talked about.
We're going to talk about money. Now, the fact is we never beg for money, but that's not to say we can't talk about money in Jehovah's organization, the earthly part. So it is long-standing. There is a balance here. Going back to the Watchtower, a very long time ago, we have never considered it proper to solicit money for the Lord's cause after the common custom, referring to Christendom. It is our judgment that money raised by the various begging devices in the name of our Lord is offensive, unacceptable to him, and does not bring his blessing either upon the givers of the work accomplished or the work accomplished. So we do not need to be coerced into giving. We gladly use our money to support kingdom activities.
Now, unlike other churches that pass a collection plate, the Jehovah's Witnesses encourage their followers to donate assets, estates, and monthly contributions. So there are people who have put the Jehovah's Witnesses as a beneficiary on their estates, and the Jehovah's Witnesses actually encourage that.
But we'd never want to come to the conclusion you can't talk about money. Money has to be discussed in these last days. This system, it meets a response in all things. So I thought we'd take some thoughts from the Kingdom book, 3 reasons why we're willing and so willing to give. And none of them should appear before Jehovah empty-handed. The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you. So you have to let that sink in. And this is what Jehovah wanted to be conveyed to the Israelites that would attend these festivals. None. Now, he didn't say if you're well off, you've had a great year, as opposed to some that were poor, you still had issues back at that time, even though it was Jehovah's nation. But he said none should appear empty-handed. So that takes in all of us, whatever our circumstances are, whether at Bethel or in the field. Jehovah doesn't approve coming empty-handed. See, and what would help us to not come empty-handed, in this case back in Israel or in our time either? Notice verse 17, and this is a lot to think about. The gift that each one brings should be in proportion to the blessing that Jehovah your God has given you. So there we have it. You stop and reflect that they were supposed to do that, and we can do the same throughout the year. Reflect on the blessings.
The shocking thing, even if they condemn other churches, is that there is no transparency. There are no annual general meetings where members would go and make the leaders accountable. The Jehovah's Witnesses run one of the largest publishing operations in the world, and they do it with free labor. The Watchtower and Awake magazines are printed in more than 200 languages. Jehovah's Witnesses own one of the largest printing facilities in the world, rivaling major publishing houses.
And MEPS achieved something even more important than increased speed and efficiency. it addressed a global spiritual need. Even before the MEPS project began, the governing body realized that if Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide could somehow study the same material each week at meetings, it would unite them as never before. And it was clear that with MEPS, along with faster presses and other adjustments in production, this could finally become a reality. The April 1st, 1984 issue of the Watchtower became the first to be published in multiple languages simultaneously. In just the next year, the number of simultaneous languages grew to 23. And by 2021, the study edition of the Watchtower was being published simultaneously in more than 390 languages.
Then there's the JW Broadcasting. The JW Broadcasting is a professional-grade TV network expanding their global influence.
Welcome to JW Broadcasting. This month marks 10 years since the first program debuted.
Thirdly, the Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the largest real estate holders in the world. And here's how they profit from it. Kingdom halls are built with free labor. Now, JW members volunteer their labor to go and build kingdom halls and assembly halls for free.
It's always been a dream to be at Bethel, so I'm very happy that we got accepted. We've come here to build the New World headquarters. Initially, Bethel called and they said, we'd like you to come out for 1 to 6 weeks. And I thought to myself, well, if I take off 6 weeks, I'd have to quit my job. So we thought about it and we prayed, and then the next day we called Bethel back and we said, we'll come out for 6 weeks. We've both been assigned to the plumbing department.
And I'm working in pipe insulation. It draws us closer together and it gives us many memories that we'll be able to cherish together for a long time.
And the organization owns all the properties, and congregations have no ownership rights to those properties. And then there's a strategic selling of those properties. Now, when the governing body decides that the congregation is no longer needed, maybe because the numbers have declined or for whatever reasons, maybe they need more resources, what they do is that they will sell those buildings that were built using free labor at massive profits. All they will do is that they will ask the other members to go and join other congregations. For example, kingdom halls in New York, California, and London have been sold for millions of dollars. And the biggest of all sales is the selling of their headquarters in Brooklyn, which they sold at more than $1 billion in 2016. If you have so far driven benefit from this video, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that every time I upload a new video, you will receive a notification. So you see how the Jehovah's Witnesses have actually amassed millions of dollars. One source indicated that Jehovah's Witnesses receive more than $2 billion annually in tax-free donations. So the Jehovah's Witnesses have actually mastered the art of religious wealth creation. They are actually a business entity that is masquerading as a religious organization. And they've done this to be able to take advantage of all the loopholes that are there. And this is through tax exemptions, donations, and unpaid workforce. But this is just half the story. In part 2, I'm going to expose where this money is going. There are secret investments and the scandals that are threatening to take their empire down. If you have so far driven benefit from this video, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that every time I upload a new video, you'll receive a notification. If you have any question, you want to correct some of the facts, please do it in the comments below. If you think that this video will benefit another person or other people, kindly share it with them you can share with as many people as you would like. To continue to part 2 of this video, click on this link. If you're interested in other videos related to Jehovah's Witnesses, their practices, their policies and doctrines, click on this playlist. I also have other videos related to SDAs discussing issues of the Sabbath, the law, and if that is an area of interest, click on this playlist.